Should I just start?
Yeah.
Okay, we should just start. How to
Have
start?
people on Zoom.
The one person. Aside from me, one person.
So, but can I just ask you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
before you actually
Yeah, yeah,
start?
yeah, yeah.
You had made some kind, I need to know two things from you. You had made some kind of a mention about field trips in the summer.
Right.
You had also talked last year, obviously because of the war, we couldn't do the once a
Oh.
month kind of deal.
Amy's on Zoom.
So
Yeah.
I'm just curious to know what if we're gonna try to get those things back. You know, if you're
The
still
trips?
planning.
You want to
Yeah.
know what you can be missing when you're not here? It's like,
Well, I absolutely want to know if I'm missing something this summer when I'm not.
well, you're gonna be missing.
I know, but
You're not
I'm
gonna be
worried
here.
if
You're
I'm
gonna be
miss
missing.
more than what you're zooming.
Oh, I see. I don't know yet because we don't know what's gonna be.
You have to prepare yourself.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't know if I start crying now or until I'm in
You can start
space.
crying now, because crying now means like get me back here faster.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like okay,
Here, right?
Amy,
I don't mind leaving
not
it
Amy.
on
Hi,
Zoom.
Amy. I meant Edie.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Edie. Shabbat ve'nafash. It's a pasuk. We say it as okay. What's ve'nafash? What's ve'nafash? Shabbat ve'nafash. To like to get respirited, to get a full of back nefesh. So the Mefarshim say, but what is this weird word? Shabbat ve'nafash. It's Shabbat ve'nafash. And the Gemara says that it's vai nefesh. It's like a compound of two words, vai nefesh. Oy vei, my neshama yetera is going to leave me. On Shabbos we get a neshama yetera, but oy, it's going to be leaving me at the end of Shabbos. So the question is, Shabbos didn't even start yet. You're crying that your neshama yetera is like going to like. So Rabbi Nachman explains I think it's in the Gemara. I don't know which is Gemara, which is the Gemara, which is Rabbi Nachman, but basically, oh, okay. The Gemara says, "Vai nefesh," because you're crying at the outset, knowing that the neshama you're going to be getting is going to be leaving you. Rabbi Nachman adds to this the measure of neshama yetera that we get on Shabbos is commensurate to the measure of longing we have for it, understanding we have a limited time within it's going to be going. Like knowing it's not there permanently creates a tshuka, a yearning that oi, and how much yearning you want to have it, that's how much neshama yetera a person gets. So it's good to start crying now. That's what I'm saying to you. All of that was just to tell you, yeah.
Yeah.
How long are you going for?
6 weeks. But I'm traveling all around the US. I'm gonna be in 5 states.
You have children there?
Yes.
This is like a very interesting Wednesday morning crowd.
Yeah,
This
really.
hasn't been like this, and
I mean, some people are misupak about like buses, and I'm gonna leave right after the class because
Yeah, there's.
by
well,
2
there's
o'clock they're gonna
transportation
stop.
so the ones who
train to
travel,
here.
how many of them out of munch out of
Anna
your
Starrett, she was gonna meet me here and drive me home, but she said she's gonna drive straight to me because she's worried about the
I'm
roads.
sure
At
that
2
that's why
o'clock,
Amy's
they-
not here, because she
Also.
comes from Arnona.
Yeah,
We're
People
close
are
for
worried.
that too.
but
That's
too,
what
that's
I
what
either
I heard.
need to like run out of here after my class or
or
I'm
stay
gonna-
till
stuck here.
or
until
stay
it's-
till tomorrow morning. Okay,
No,
okay. So I'm gonna go live and we're just gonna start. It's not the Shem. Okay, so thank you for those who came. And it's
A new sefer.
a new sefer b'midbar. So
Sefer Hatuyot, Hatuyot,
sefer Hatuyot.
the book of mistakes.
It's interesting you say this. So I'm
That's I
doing.
think what Shlomo always told you. He
That's
said
all
you don't need a
matters,
Torah
doesn't
if you
it?
know how to do everything right. You need a Torah because of all the
Yeah, she put on
mistakes
the-
that you make.
I'm
That's
sorry,
why you have a
that's
Torah.
fine.
You
So
do
so the
that. There's always a
Slonimer.
way back.
I'm giving over from the Slonimer now,
No,
and
you're really into him lately.
lately it's
I know.
he's accessible.
He's very.
He's easy when I don't.
And he
I was
makes cool
listening. I was yesterday. I was sitting with the Maya Shiloah with different
Different.
form. I say, okay, who's gonna
Who's gonna?
grab me? And I was gonna leave the Slonimer and Likutelach for the end because that's easy for me, and then I'll get cat and I won't. But they were very cute, very nice, very sweet, very sweet, very sweet. But they didn't like grab me in. They didn't grab me, but this grabbed me. The Slonimer, he grabbed me when I was learning this. So and he doesn't use your language of Sefer HaTuyot, but he addresses it in a very interesting way that I never really thought of before. So it's Sefer Bamidbar, and it's all about counting the Jews. It's like throughout many stations along the book, Am Yisrael were counted throughout our sojourn in the Midbar. And this book begins with the pasuk. Well, no, it doesn't begin with the pasuk, but we're told, Moshe Rabbeinu is told, Se'ut Rosh Kol Adat Bnei Yisrael Mishpachotam Leveit Avotam B'mispar Shemot. Raise the heads of all of the congregation, the children of Israel, to their families, to the house of their fathers, B'mispar Shemot, counting the names. It's a lot of specifics in terms of the census that he's supposed to take. It's lemishpachotam, each person according to like the family that they come from, associating them with their father's house, and also each individual name. Okay, and so people pick up on this, the Mefarshim pick up on this. Why in this census mispar Shemot is mentioned? Because the other census that Moshe Rabbeinu is told to take an accounting of how many are in Am Yisrael, but in the for instance, the counting of this is Yotzei. Who's he counting here? Yotzei Mitzrayim. He's counting the people who left Mitzrayim, and then before we enter Israel, Be'ei Haaretz, in Parshas Pinchas, Moshe Rabbeinu is again told to count the Jews, but Mispar Shemot is not mentioned, only Leveit Avotam, only to the house of their fathers. Okay, so what is this? What's specific about Yotzei Mitzrayim that a big deal seems to be made about their names?
They didn't change their names, one thing, right? That was a excuse that they had.
Yeah, but they didn't. Yeah, okay. Yeah, right.
There's one of the exclusive.
Okay, that's a good thing. It's not what he says, but it's a nice idea. It's a nice idea. Okay, so he brings down this forno that here Yotzei Mitzrayim. So the whole thing is going to be like the difference between Yotzei Mitzrayim and Be'ei Eretz Yisrael. And it seems like there's a whole of avoda, different avoda that is specific to Yotzei Mitzrayim. It's a different thing than what Be'ei Eretz Yisrael have to do. By the end of the book, it's at the end of Maseh. It's at the end of all the 40 years and everything that went right also, but everything that went on with us in the Midbar. And we're at the end of it. It's like the wars that the last two wars that Moshe Rabbeinu fought before giving over his mantle over to Yeshua. It's a whole different other generation 40 years later, and it's to be a Jew leaving Mitzrayim. The ikar of what the avoda is to leave Mitzrayim is very different than the ikar avoda of what it takes, what it means to come into Eretz Yisrael. That's what he's going to take it to. And in this context, he's going to explain needing to count the names, the mispar shemot. Like, every person has a name. It lends chashivas to the person. I know you by name. You're not just like some student I have among hundreds of students I had through the years. I actually remember your name. Whoa. Like you're in
Swiss Shlomo. He could meet you 40 years later and know your name.
I know
He would say, he for sure won't remember me. And he'll call them out by name.
That's a bracha.
Put these in your bag. I don't want you to read
Oh,
them here.
okay. Because you know that I forget things.
We all
Okay.
forget.
I remembered as I was downstairs, but I'm not going back up there because then it's going to make me rush and
Right.
breathless. And I wanted to prove you wrong. I wanted to at least one time not to show up like that.
What you say, because people take it
Sensitive.
anyway.
I had a friend. It's Sheila Hassan. Aleh Shalom. It's her yahrzeit today. Chesed Shebemalchus. Unbelievable. It was so her. And she taught me. She was like, this is in Montreal. And she says, teacher has to be there before the students. Like, you should really try to be there before the students. It was my thing to show play. Some people say dafka lehefa, let them all be sitting and then like rise when you come into the room, Okay. In any case, so the Sforno says, Shekanimnu Yotzei Mitzrayim. So in Parshas Bamidbar, they left Mitzrayim. This is when this is happening, a year after Yetzias Mitzrayim. Second month. This is ER. And after the building of the Mishkan, which was in Nisan, a year after they left Mitzrayim. A month after that, 30 days later, that's when the census was commanded to be taken. Why? This I'm not giving you from him now. I think it's maybe the Meshach said this. I don't remember. I read so many things now. I don't remember who said what. But the Mishkan, because Hashem wanted to have them. What was it? Oh yeah, wow! I saw him like crawling.
It's a little cutie.
It's a cutie.
Oh,
They really are cute.
They really are.
Aw, it's a baby.
Yeah, it's a real cute.
Here, maybe the people at home can see him also. I don't know if you can see.
I don't want to feel that.
Okay, there was a salamander that just went into the. Okay, so now what am I saying? What was I saying, guys?
It's the second year.
No, okay, so why did he wait till a month after the Mishkan? They say because he wanted to count them with the bracha of Hashrat Shechina that should rest on them. So why not doing at the time of the dedication of the Mishkan? Why a month later? I think it is the Meir Shiloach that said this, or it could be the Kedusha Salevi. I really was reading a lot yesterday, but I was very tired, so I don't remember who said what.
Okay.
It's
We don't
okay.
either. We don't either.
Okay, but it's nice to say B'Shem Amo, so
Right.
it's either this one or that one.
One.
Okay, so because until something is bikvut 30 days, it's not really like bikvut. So Hashem waited 30 days after the dedication of the Mishkan to then do the census, because after 30 days it's kvut. It's a presence that has permanence. Anything beyond that, you don't know if it's going to be permanent. You don't know if it's just 30. You don't know. How do you know it's like going to continue? But 30 days it's a thing of permanence. So the people that left Mitzrayim were really anashim gdolim. The Sforno says. We're trying to understand why was it important to count them by their names. And this doesn't appear any other census, only in this one specific, right? Because Yotzei Mitzrayim were anashim gdolim, dor deah, the generation mamash that saw all the miracles in Mitzrayim, on the Yam, Har Sinai, of course, Matan Torah. They were a dor deah. They had so much. They were privileged to see so much. Their minds were expanded, and they had godless to them. They were anashim gdolim to merit to see that. Al ken ne'emar behem mispar shemot, and therefore, mispar shemot, counting them by name, is referred to them because it's a matter of chashivas. Vedacha b'shem, there's psukim, and I knew you by name. And he brings now, like as it says in Tehillim, Moneh mispar lekochavim lecholam shemot yikra. Hashem counts every star. He has a name for every star, because by Kadosh Baruch Hu, every star has a name to show their chashivas, because everything that has chashivas has a name. Shem, just the word Shem, the word in Hebrew for a name is Shem, which has in it also Sham. It has a presence. It has a Sham. It has a
weightiness.
A weightiness and a presence in space and time, like right. Okay, so this is your name. How you doing? Welcome. So when you're talking about counting the dor de'ah, same each one for their families, to their father's house, b'mispar shemot, according to how many they were, according to their names, that aside from the high esteem that of the families they came from, the avotam and associating with their fathers' families, hayu gam b'mispar shemot, that each one individually was very, very important in his own right, not just because he came from a certain family. Just to say a little bit, like Levet Avotam, it's a big deal. Again, I don't know who said this. It was somewhere in my twilight brain space when I was reading last night. But what did I want to say? What did I say? Levet Avotam. Levet Avotam only kicked in. Nice to see you. Levet Avotam only kicked in after Matan Torah. Before Matan Torah, everybody, like the Goyim, people are associated to their mother's houses, according to their
Matriarchal
lineage, because that's easiest to trace.
Right.
Which mommy did you come from? Which
Right.
tummy did you come from?
Right.
The father? But after Matan Torah, this is when it became a thing that Jewish families go according to their fathers, because that proves the purity of the family lineage. You know who your mother is, but a gewalt, you also know who your father is. You also know who your father is. And so there's a big deal mentioned to Levet Avotam. It's a unique Jewish thing that we can trace back lineage to
That
father.
was the problem with the Makala, right? That he didn't have a Beit Avotam.
Yeah.
It was a
Right.
hard test, but he didn't.
It was a hard, right.
And so you make it sound like Gewalt like a bad thing. Beethoven.
No, Gewalt isn't a
No,
good thing.
they're good,
Gewalt
but
is a very
those
flexible
words.
term that you can
Yeah.
use in
just an
I'm using it-
explanation,
So what,
but-
like know from where you are on both sides.
both sides. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know who your father
Yeah.
is. There's family purity there. There's pure family lineage, and we know that in Judaism, tzidkus is in this area of family purity. Okay, so that's this. So Hiyugam b'mispar shemot, but in the Yotzei Mitzrayim, they also were numbered by according to each one's name. Shekol echad b'fnei atzmo haya adam gadol, because each individual that left Mitzrayim b'fnei atzmo was a gewalt in terms of like a big deal, amazing,
their level.
a high level of like awesomeness. Masha'en ken dor be'ei haaretz, which was not the case with the generation that came into the land of Israel, that were in a lower madrega. When they're in a lower madrega, you don't count each one according to their name, b'mispar shemot, only to the house of their fathers, levet avotam. Sheyichusam v'malatam yurat mitzad mishpachotam, because their yichus, their greatness was more from the fact of like where they came from, who their yichus is, and not on their own right. So let's just like, he has a lot of brilliant things now, he's going to continue. But let's just pause and think about what he just said for a second, okay? Why would that be? Why would Dor Yotzei Mitzrayim be on a higher madrega than Dor
Yeah,
Be'ei
you would think
Yisrael?
it seems the opposite.
It sounds the
right?
opposite, but
Yeah.
let's think about it.
Yeah.
Think about it.
They saw.
What?
Go ahead. It's okay.
Matan Torah, those experience Matan Torah and those didn't.
So they experience firsthand godliness as
What the yam, what the makot, all those things they experienced, right?
right. On the other hand, what did the Dor Bilbao? They experienced the man, the mir, the man, the be'er, the ananei kavod. They got it from their fathers. Like there was a revelation. We see the Mishkan, the Lucho. We see it, but
Right.
it's like they are getting it secondhand because they were born in the Midbar. But they didn't. What did they not have? The avod of Yeshivat Mitzrayim. There are a lot of people that didn't make it out of Mitzrayim. See, most. So if you made it out of Mitzrayim, you had it in you to leave Mitzrayim. You needed something, some basic level, more than just basic, some heavy dosage of emunah. Rav Tzadok Cohen says it's not just emunah in Hashem, it's emunat chachamim, because you were believing in this Moshe Rabbeinu that said you can be like me. This is not your place. Mitzrayim is not your place. The ones who stayed in Mitzrayim says, it is my place. There's no changing me. I'm being like this. And the ones that left, I was like, I totally want to go for this new potential that you're talking about that's within me, and I want to go for it. So it's emunat chachamim, but also not just emunat Hashem emunat chachamim, but they also have emunat in themselves that they can do the work to have me to get out of Mitzrayim, and to have Mitzrayim leave them. They had it within them. They had the avoda of it, And the ones who were born in the midbar, they're like kids who were born into like very wealthy families, and their needs are well taken care of. And what did they do to deserve it? Just the fact that they were born at this time to this family that made it out of Mitzrayim, and other in the midbar.
Apparently that's us. We're the good ones.
Wait, we're both, because we read the Torah, and I was thinking about this. He doesn't talk about it. So where are we? Which door are we? We are both, because as the Baal Shem Tov explains, I love that you said this, because the Baal Shem Tov explains that every story in the Torah that we read is actually us. So the Rishayim before the flood, that's us. The ones that made it into the Teva and got saved, that's us. All of it is us. Everything is us.
And I realized more and more that, like you say, that they were witnessing the Makot and the plagues and going out. But when, like we are witnessing miracles and we are not aware of it. I feel that maybe 5 generations after, they're going to say, oh, if you lived in that.
Yeah,
time.
but some people are, some miracles are hard to ignore, like what happened with Iran and and all the stories that Tzahal, the Chayalim go through, and they come back and they tell us, and those who survive. But how, according to, like, as much as we know to say Mizmor Todaro, there's so many more that we don't know about, and you're right.
Exactly. We are aware of it, and we don't really.
We're not alive with it. We're not.
Integrate it. We have to spend time on it.
We
thinking
have-
about it, integrating it.
So that's
feel
what
and-
happened in Mitzrayim when they left. That's what happened when they went through the plagues. They had the same thing. So I'm just realizing that now.
Yeah. It's us. It's
So
us. It's mamish
not
us.
that we don't see it, it's that as Israelis, we're not making a big enough noise about it.
You're right.
for the rest
Exactly.
of the world.
Exactly.
Because we're saying, okay.
It could be. Some people are like that, and
You
sometimes
know,
there's many. We fill up all. We fill up the whole, like, this, all the spectrums of reactions about this. There are those also like that, and there are those that are just dumb to it, and there are those that are aware of it, but they don't realize that they should be jumping up and down and taking the loudspeakers. And do you realize what just happened? You don't. It's Hashem is in your face. How much more proof of godliness do you want? And anywhere and everywhere in between. Just on this, and I don't know what to say.
People attribute it to the Iron Dome, which it is.
But as a
But it's
shliach of
Hashem.
Hashem, it's a
You know, the Iron Dome, Khalila, could fail if Hashem wanted
Okay.
to. So this is the hand of Hashem.
I can say something. I can take a pause from Yotzei Mitzrayim, Bei Mitzrayim, because I really want to say that. But because you mentioned this now, the Slonimer in the next article, I didn't know if I was going to get to it, but I'll say now. Why was the Torah necessarily given in the Midbar? And he talks about
Where are we learning? What are we learning?
Slonimer, Yeshivat Shalom on the Parsha. And so he speaks about really the last lesson that we had in the Kabbalah class is about Arba Yesodot. That why is it important that the Torah be given in the Midbar? And it's not only just the Midbar. He says the Chachamim speak about with that the Torah was given with 3 elements: the Esh, Maim, and Midbar. Esh, Maim, fire, water, and Midbar, which is Adama. Ruach, what? The water, he brings a pasuk, Gam Shamaim Natfu, Gam Avim Natfu Maim. It was the whole light show. There was a fire, it was a blazing the mountain, but there was also the clouds were giving their stuff. Okay, their water.
The Torah itself is the water.
And the Torah, yeah, but like mamash. And then the Midbar, like it happened in Midbar Sinai. And he just to say this fast and not dwell on this to make that the sheer, but he says each one of these kohot, why was the Torah needed to give in the Midbar, and through these other elements also Yesodot, not just Midbar, is because there's a koach hatuma and a koach of kedusha that each one of these yesodot can be used for. And the tafkid of the Jew is to take all of the yesodot that we are made up of and take them out of the realm of tumah and bring them into the realm of kedusha. So the fire of the Yetzer Hara that has us go after our taivas and things like that, we have to turn that fire into a fire of kedusha for the sake of Torah. The same with Mayim. Mayim represents chesed and love, of course, right? And shukot and yearnings. But we know that we can fall into inappropriate loves and we take our yearning and shukot into all kinds of wrongful places. And we have to bring our loves to only have a love for kedusha and Torah and mitzvahs, and we have to. So the midbar. What's the midbar? It's a place of hefker. It's a place of hefker. But when you're hefker in a not good way. You're hefker. You don't have any self-esteem, self-respect. Anyone who wants to do whatever they want to do to you, you'll make yourself hefker for that. Chas v'shalom. But a Jew needs to protect their kedusha. But there is a place for hefkerut, but on the side of kedusha, it means I'm making myself hefker, mevatel al my retzonot, all of my taivas, all of my other lives, only to be for you. I am nullifying my Yetzer Hara, only I'm making myself hefker from my own desires in order to make myself hefker for Torah. And Chazal say only someone who makes himself hefker for Torah does the Torah reveal itself to them. I know in past years, like you're a new people here, like two people, I don't know. But like I told you about Safta Ades. There's many stories about, the Yaakov Ades, the Mekuba. The one who screams in the lawn in the kotel, and he's always invited. Okay, good, you don't know. Anyway, so he's like we share the same family. He's my cousin's cousin. We share the same first cousins. But he happens to be my mother's fifth cousin in any case. But then my mother married his aunt, so we came close. But it doesn't matter because she's my Doda Ades Rabba, but she's his Safta, okay? So they live around here, like they live in like the other side of Machne Yehuda, not the group side, like very close. And I don't know if I want to tell you these things now. I really want to tell you about Safta Ades, but it's a story about making yourself hefker, so her and her husband was the great Yaakov Ades that was Av Beit Din in Yerushalayim, and he was also it's enough of that. But their family, each one of their children and children's children, kadosh shein kmutam, kadoshim tehorim, like unbelievable. Each one of my cousins from that line of my mother's sister's kids, like echad, and the other side of the family, okay? All of them, echad. How did they merit such a family? They made themselves hefker. Now, I'll give you just an example of making yourself hefker. There's many stories, I'll just choose one. They lived before there was like Rakevet Kala. They lived before there were even cars on the street. They lived when people were like traveling by donkeys, okay? In the early 1900s of Yerushalayim, okay? Or maybe even in the 20s or 30s, I don't know. But it was like not built up. Yerushalayim was not built up. And they lived in a place, really a chov navon. I know that dira because my aunt and her husband Ades, when they lived there, they got the apartment from them. So I used to visit them there. Two huge bedroom apartments. They had 11 kids. They raised 11 kids there. Just two huge rooms, and one of the corner of the rooms was the kitchen. This is how
all those people live.
Now listen. Now you go to go to the kotel. Their house was situated perfectly to be able to shave 20 minutes off the walking to the kotel. If you would go in from their front door and out of their back door. And because the way the city was built, like what it was set up, it was not like it's set up now. There was Machne Yehuda there, but it just did not look like what it looks like now. It added 20 minutes if you had to go around to go to the kotel. And people knew that the Adeses allowed their home to be used as a shortcut. Now, one time, a man with his donkey or horse went through the front door, and the horse decided to do his business right there on the floor. And he finished his business, and he continued walking outside the other door, and without like cleaning or anything, as if it was like the most normal thing to do, because your horse needed to make its business. And the kids wanted to say something, the little kids, like my uncle. It's like they wanted to say, and Safta Ad is just, you don't say a word. You don't say a word. She mamished me, and then after he left, they cleaned up the business. So many stories like that. So many stories like that. They made themselves hefker for Am Yisrael, and the Torah became hefker for them. So a person, so just like in terms of answering why was the Torah needed to be given in the midbar, because that's the only way you can be makabel Torah. You make yourself hefker for Torah by turning the fire of the Yetzer Hara. There's another thing he says here. Okay, I didn't want to spend so much time in it, but how can you not, right? In other words, so we're made up out of all these elements. So he has here, and when he speaks about it, he has a little tefillah. If you can't manage to overturn your eish for the Yetzer Hara, for eish to kedusha, if you can't manage to turn your mind of chesed, of love, for wrongful things to only to kedusha things, at least make yourself hefker. The way to do it, if you can't muster the fire of enthusiasm for Torah, if you can't master up the tshuka, the love of Torah within you, only for Torah, then you can say this. And he brings it. Okay, I wrote it down because it was so beautiful, but I'll read it from my notes. How do you do it? That in the beginning of the B'midra always coincides with Kabbalat Torah Shavuot. It's always very close to Shavuot. It's the Parsha before Kabbalat Torah, and it's so important. So we say like this: Ribono shel olam, ein bi esh kodesh. I don't have holy fire. Ein bi tshukot kedoshot lavo lefanecha. And I don't have holy desires to come to you, to be able to receive your holy Torah. Harei ani v'kol hashali. So therefore, me, I am making myself and everything about me that is mine. Harei ani v'kol hashali batel umevutal hefker kamidbar. I make myself completely hefker lemidbar. More than that, I just can't do right now, and that's an important approach in order to be able to receive the Torah. Okay, so now we're going to move back.
Can we move to Bar-El ben Hila? I told you that was Patsua.
So shows a patsua.
Before Shalema, Bar-El ben Hila.
Bar-El
Bar-El
ben Hila. Hila. שלרפואה שלמה from us psuim, בתוך שאר חולי ישראל, and all the other psuim, and there should be no more psuim. It's not the shame. Yes, okay. So now let's go back to the misparim, to the shemot, okay? Now he says like this. So far, let's go back to what he said about the Yotzei Mitzrayim as opposed to Be'ei, okay? Be'ei Yisrael. Who was on a higher madrega? The people that left Mitzrayim. They had more avoda to them, bringing them to that madrega to be able to be the dodea.
To transform, whereas the people who were born there, they
were born there. So granted, though the generation that went into Eretz Yisrael, not as on a high level as the ones that left Mitzrayim. But then he says like this. So what's with all the sins that we hear about? If they were so great, how come they sin so much? The Dor HaMidbar, that didn't merit to be the Dor that entered Eretz Yisrael. The Meraglim, Chet HaEgel and the Meraglim, just those two alone, enough was to make them lose out on coming into the prize of coming into Eretz Yisrael.
The Meraglim came out of Mitzrayim?
Yeah, the Meraglim is Dor Yotzei Mitzrayim. It's not the ones that were born there. Because that was the punishment. You were not going to be, you therefore will not enter the land of Israel. You're a Mo'es Be'eretz Yisrael. You're not going to get but your children will be.
They had to go through a purification process.
Okay, so
From what they were subjected to, saw, learned.
right in
were
Mitzrayim,
raised
because they
in
didn't
Mitzrayim.
only just see Mitzrayim was still very much part of it. Okay, so there, but so we see the Chataim, the great sins, from those two generations were done from Yotzei Mitzrayim, and not Be'eretz Yisrael, because what do we know about Be'eretz Yisrael? Those who came into the land of Israel with Yehoshua, Vayavod Yisrael et Hashem kol yemei Yehoshua. The 40 years that he was ruling, Am Yisrael, Yehoshua, Am Yisrael were good children. It's only break apart after he died, and then there was a period of Shoftim, and they like lost it. But Vayavod Yisrael et Hashem kol yemei Yehoshua. We don't hear of sins. Only once. By one individual, Achan, that kept some booty from the battle with Ai. Only one person. Yeah.
But the main problem is that they didn't destroy the Canaanites.
No, but it wasn't he. But they did.
They didn't.
It's not held against them, because even the Torah says it has to be done slowly, so that if you get rid of them too fast, then the wild animals will come, and they're maintaining civilized place that keeps the animals away. There was laat, no, like the Chumash tells you to do it laat. It had to be done. It's this item is not held against them that they didn't.
So are you saying they didn't get to finish it, or that they?
What, the Canaan?
No, when they left the animals, and they're saying that we didn't finish.
David HaMelech finished what Yehoshua didn't in terms of the kibush haaretz, in terms of the conquering and getting. Okay, but it's a different topic. Lo nizkaru. So we don't. No sins are mentioned with the Be'ei Eretz Yisrael, that generation that ended up going to Israel. On the other hand, Yotzei Mitzrayim, you're talking about they're godless, but like, so how do you understand they're godless together with their sins? Okay, that they're sinning.
Because they're so high, they get judged.
There you go.
harshly.
Beautiful. Hello.
How do we dare to say even that they sinned? I mean, like,
Because the Torah tells us they did
but
Cheta Egel and Cheta Meraglim. But
it was a mi'ut, first of all. It wasn't Rove, right, who did these things. Like the Meraglim were the leaders of it. It was like.
except that they believed, they believed the Meraglim. So they were the rove. Okay, and now, but he does say what you said. Shehu mechamat shekol hagadol mechavero yitzro gadol mimenu. Whoever is bigger than his friend, their Yetzer Hara has it. You should know if you meet somebody great, if you think they're great because they don't have a Yetzer Hara as great as mine, not true. They're great because, which means they have a bigger Yetzer Hara, not because they have a smaller Yetzer Hara.
And also not because they can resist it.
So
they fall big also.
That's right. דור המדבר שיהיו דור דעה ואנשים גדולים היה יצרם גדול וכל חטאיהם נבעו מצד גדולתם. That this generation that left Mitzrayim were very big people, and therefore the Yetzer Hara was greater, and all their sins came because the Yetzer Hara was working overtime with them. Should I show you what's going on in my head?
Strange system.
Yeah,
It's like it's
What's in my head now? I must be very big because I'm coming across some very big Yetzer Haras. It's a l'chaim moment, right? You're hit by Yetzer Hara, just, l'chaim, shkoyach. Okay, fine.
It's in drunk won't help.
What?
It's in drunk won't help.
No, it won't help. No, it won't help. Becoming a midbar will help. It's the only way.
I just learned in a previous class that the Alter Rebbe says that every moment you can have a new opportunity and restart.
Yeah, of course.
And all these challenges now, the only way that this isn't what the Alter Rebbe said, but the only way to handle every day a new thing where you find yourself, not where you find yourself, where you are, is, I think, to just appreciate your hitmodadut in each situation. You figure out what
There's many aids.
Successful, sometimes not. But now it's very
Okay, so let's continue.
It's obvious that the Yetzer Hara would be stronger in that.
Because Mitzrayim was stronger in them.
Absolutely.
Because the generation that were born in the desert didn't have Mitzrayim. So it makes sense. All of it makes sense. So now he's going to take it into avoda. Okay, he's going to take it into avoda. So now we'll understand why it's only the second generation that went into Mitzrayim despite that they had they were on a lower madrega. So now we understand why it's only the second generation that entered the land of Israel. Those that were on a lower madrega. As the Chida says, She'eretz Knan hu milshon hachna'a. Where did the Am Yisrael go to? Eretz Knan. Before it's called Eretz Yisrael, it's Eretz Knan. Because the way to Eretz Yisrael is through hachna'a. Hachna'a means to subjugate, to be humble. Somebody humble. She'eretz Knan hu milshon hachna'a, to subjugate, to subdue. She Eretz l'nichneim. It's a land. Eretz Yisrael is a land of the subdued people. Eretz Yisrael koletet rak anashim nichneim. Eretz Yisrael absorbs only people who are nichnaim, who know to subdue their desires. Hachna'a, like from the three levels of the steps of the Baal Shem. Hachna'a, havdala, hafrada'a, hamtaka, hafrada, hachna'a, hamtaka. Havdala, hachna, hamtaka, right? So that, okay, right. So we were doing the hachna'a, and it says in Pirkei Avot, he'll bring now from Pirkei Avot to help us understand what's written in Shlach. Yoshua and Kalev, they came back after the report of the spies, and they said, Tova ha'aretz me'od me'od. Don't listen to them, to the other 10 spies. Tova ha'aretz me'od me'od. And the Slonomer, he's bringing in the name of the Chida, that brings that the Chazal say, where else do we see this lashon of me'od me'od in Pirkei Avot? Me'od me'od havei shvel ruach. Very, very much be a shvel ruach. Be it like, humble yourself. Like, become like the midbar. Mevatel yourself to everything. You can't fight you can't bring up holy fire with enthusiasm for Torah. At least mevatel the other fire. Like, don't give in to it, subdue it. At least don't give in. Sur mera, in other words. At least don't do the bad. Me'od me'od havei shvel ruach. Amar Rabbi, I don't know, what's it? Aleph Reshut, who's this? Okay. Tova me'od. Sorry. No more sound. Okay. Tova me'od לאלו שמקיימים מאוד מאוד, ארץ ישראל, of course, א' רשות. ארץ ישראל טובה מאוד לאלו שמקיימים מאוד מאוד הווי שפל רוח. Eretz Israel is very, very good, טובה מאוד מאוד, to those who are Mekayim, מאוד מאוד הווי שפל רוח. So where do we fit in? What's our door fitting in? That's like when I was learning this, I was thinking, so where do we fit in? Are we the Dodea? Are we messing up? Are not deserving of Eretz Yisrael? Are we the Do Bei Eretz Yisrael? Who are we now? I'll just leave it for now, okay? So מאוד מאוד הווי שפל רוח. וזהו מה דכתוב, ותפכם אשר אמרתם לבז, יהיה המה יבואו שמה ולהם אתננם ומרשוע. So then, after Chet HaMeraglim, it says, you're not going to go, but tapchem, your children, that asher amartem lavaz, that you made a mockery of them. Like why did that? Why is it they made mockery of them? Lavaz. Lavaz means what?
No. Baz is like what you grab in war. Loot.
Oh, baz. Oh, beziza. Both. It could be. It's both. It's both. But tapchem asher amartem levaz. That's bizarre. It's all related terms. I'm not quite sure that that's how you're supposed to read it in this pasuk, but if the premise, it's interesting what you're bringing. No. But the premise, shamatam levaz, yehema yavo shama v'lehem etnena v'hem Yeshua.
Our children will be killed. They're not going to come. They said,
"Oh, right.
And you're saying,
yeah, we're going to bring
that you said are going to die.
Are going to die. They're the ones who are going to be Irish, and you're not going to be good. Thank you so much. Your children that said they're going to be levad, they're going to be forsaken and right, Hefker.
No,
they're going to be, and it's your children that are not lower madrega than you.
They'll come in and you.
Because they will have this lowly spirit. They will know that they're not as great as their fathers. They'll know like what is chut. Like my parents didn't get to come in, and we're getting. They have this understanding of this is a schus.
I think a lot of us have that who came here from like the old
Baruch
country,
Hashem.
you know, like that we really feel like all these
It's a
people are
plus.
longing to come here and didn't get here, and we're here, like
And
we're
the
all-
ones that don't talk like that take it for granted.
right, right.
Yeah,
Maybe we also do.
we
No,
have.
I think
But to show me now, we go with what?
Changes moment by moment.
Moment by moment, because we're all of it. We're all, and we have to. What we're learning here is you want to keep the land, and you want the bracha of the neshama of the Torah on this land. Then this is the way. Then this is the way. Don't be like the Dodea. Forget what you know. It's not so much what you know. No, he's going to take it to a different place, but you'll see. Okay, stick with me here. And Eretz Yisrael only absorbs the nichneim, the subject. Now, yesterday in Yeshivat Eretz Yisrael, we learned something unbelievable. And it applies to this. I was thinking when I was reading this, it's unbelievable what we learned yesterday. That it says Eretz Yisrael, if Am Yisrael is not worthy of the Emunah of Eretz Yisrael, what she represents, it's not resonating with what Eretz Yisrael is, which is a desire to be a Jew. But Son Biot Yehudi, Eretz Yisrael is all about Emunah. Then it's like she'll vomit you out, like a person ingesting something bad, and it's food poisoning. It'll vomit it out, and that's its tikkun. So Eretz Yisrael vomits people out. So the question is, but we also have a pasuk that says it won't. Your daughter's here, but you knew that. Oh, the other one was also okay. There's a few. Okay, cute. Okay, so Eretz Yisrael. So then, and then it says one of the promises that there will come a time that the land will not vomit you out. So what's the difference? Well, what's the difference? Why isn't okay? We see. So the fear is it vomited us out one time. Like, is it going to happen again? And was that the Shem? So what we learned yesterday in Yeshivat Yisrael is that it vomit us out only when there's rov kedusha in the land. Then you have the chok, and he brings in a whole big thing about like halacha. When things happen, kavua, rov. It was a bit of a Drake-uppy halachic discussion how he was proving, but the end point is, if most of the people are not holding by the level of kedusha, then the vomit out thing doesn't play itself out. Why? Because they're not behaving like that on purpose. They're like tinok shenishba. When most of the people are not doing Torah in the way that they should, it means that they have bad teachers and bad environment and bad influences, and you can't hold it against them. And it's a whole different other cheshbon for people who are tinok shenishba than people who should know better, who lived in the time of the Beis Hamikdash and saw the Kohen Gadol, and were privileged to see Nevi'im and the Sanhedrin, and you behave like that despite all of the kedusha that can be your teachers, and you still go to the other side, vomit you out. But now, so what came out from this discussion is that everybody wants to know how come Am Yisrael, Eretz Yisrael was built through the Chilonim. If it's such an important mitzvah, how come they got it? And it came out from our discussion yesterday that we have a big point of gratitude to the Chilonim that built the land, because it makes our faults less prominent, that would require us to be kicked out and vomited out. Because it's standard, and it's a standard. So it's like you're
Yeah, the mashal with the road with one stain and then with many stains is not noticeable. That
Right.
really helped me understand.
Okay, good. Right. So but then it doesn't stop there. We're not meant to just be sinners, right? But after the goof comes in, it's a trick of Hashem. It's like he loves us so much he want every Jew has to be here. Every single Jew. Lo yidach mimeno nidach. But how is he going to bring all Jews here? So he has his ways. So in the early 1900s, late 1800s, it was nationalism. It was the anti-Semitism, national-based anti-Semitism that gave some Jews that grew up in those societies to say, we also have, we
If
want,
we had a state
if
that
we have
would
a-
be okay.
we
then
would
we'd
be okay, and then
Yeah.
they won't stop killing us. It has nothing to do with being Jewish or not, but it's like they still felt Jewish, but there was a national pride, and so Zionism became Jewish nationalism. So that was a trick to get those Jews here and establish a Jews here. And then Chas v'shalom, we should just come here without any need.
Well, Hashem has tremendous tolerance
But-
for our
but-
enemies that conquered the land before he vomited them out. He had tremendous patience. They were here a long time.
Yeah, but
Hundreds and
but
hundreds of
the
years.
land never gave anything of itself to them. The produce never grew. It didn't
Didn't flourish.
flourish. It only flourishes for the Jews. Anyway, so that's what just to finish that thought, the point isn't just to be off the hook because there's so many people not keeping Torah and mitzvahs here. The point is to get them here. And the second step of tshuva, then Hashem will waken up. Then there's the psukim and the sources that speak about it. And once we're here, that's when we're going to have an awakening of tshuva that's going to bring the neshama into the guf of the people that are already here.
So this is where he said that the rabbis went wrong. And he said they thought, oh, we shouldn't be
Right.
part of it because it's not
Right,
a Torah government. And many people still feel that way today.
right.
And he said, no, the body has to be built
Bu-
first
built.
of the body.
And
then
this
the
is just a way, and they all have to be here. We all have to be here.
But
Okay.
that doesn't excuse us from our responsibility.
Of course
to be
not.
the
We're not
example.
chas
Like,
v'shalom.
at times when the leaders weren't leaders, so.
No,
we
it's not.
can't
No,
blame the
we're not.
people, you know?
We're not. That's why I said the point is for to be neshama Jews and Torah Jews, but there's an allowance for neshamayim for people. People want to know. So how come all these chilonim get to live here, and how come they're not?
Mhm.
They're not.
Keeping what they're supposed to.
Is it
Yeah.
keeping us on? Why isn't the land kicking them out if all of these rules are true? There's a whole system.
Mhm.
That's what I
It's
just.
like a big math equation.
It's a big math equation. It's a chesed
Very
Hashem.
high level calculus
It's-
plus.
High level calculus plus. So I didn't do well in calculus. Okay.
No, for it all to, like you're saying, for it to all fit
For
together.
it
it's
to
like-
all fit together. It's incredible, no?
Yeah.
Okay, במרגלים, כולם אנשים ראשי בני ישראל. So the Meraglim were all great people, and their pgam was they weren't machnia themselves. Why did the Meraglim not want to come down to sin?
They knew it would be a whole different arrangement.
Because they
wouldn't
knew
be the leaders anymore.
They wouldn't be the leaders anymore because it's a whole new other order. And
he also says that they didn't even know that consciously that that's the way we're thinking that because they were high people, right?
they were,
They,
yeah.
they didn't want
They
to.
thought
No, so he's going to give an example. What was missing in them that they didn't have the achna? What and he's going to connect it to bemispar shemot that they had to be named. That this generation was so great that left Mitzrayim that each one by name. That's how chashuv they were. Unlike the Dor Be'eretz Yisrael that they didn't have that. רק עבדי בלב עקב הייתה רוח אחרת. Okay. רק מישהו נכנע בתכלית. So they were missing הכנע. And now he's quoting now the Zohar Kadosh. It says, Man de'ihu rav, ihu za'ir. Man de'ihu za'ir, ihu rav. Somebody who thinks himself as a great person, man de'ihu rav, someone who understands that he is great, if he knows that he's great, and he holds himself as a great person, actually he's very small. And someone who's really very small and knows of his loneliness, he's the great person. Okay, so someone who's great and knows he's great, he's really small. Someone who's small and knows that I am really small, that makes him great. And from here he understands. He brings a pasuk lev nishbar v'nitke Hashem lo tivzeh she'im ra'ui hu she'ivazuhu. Okay, let me fast forward it a little bit. Fast forward like this. I'm not going to read from the inside because I just want to summarize this now. You have Dol De'ah. What allowed them to leave Mitzrayim? Who gets to do a sur merah from the Yetzer Hara? What kind of personality? What kind of character traits? What's the inner dynamic of somebody? What's the inner self-image of the person that says, I'm not listening to the Yetzer Hara, I have to go away from my Yetzer Hara? What kind of character trait is needed?
Like some kind of self-esteem.
Self-esteem. I need to know my value. If I have self-esteem, I'm not going to fall for Mitzrayim. Because Mitzrayim is a bad place and I don't belong there. So the Dol De'ah needed for their job of Sur Merah from Mitzrayim, they had to have a healthy dose of Ani Gadol, Ani Adam Gadol. I am great. Which is fantastic for the Sur Merah, but which is not so good for Aseh Tov. To do Aseh Tov, you have to have Achna'ah. You have to say, you're great, but there's greater levels than you. But as long as I'm doing the work of Sur Merah, I need to leave Mitzrayim, I can't afford to be a nice guy here. I need to go full out and see my greatness. And the Torah is saying the generation that left Mitzrayim, their names were counted because they needed to have the self-importance of each individual. I'm a somebody. Otherwise, they never would have been able to leave Mitzrayim. As opposed to Be'ei Eretz Yisrael, their avoda, their tafkid was to be machnia. You can only conquer Eretz Yisrael. You can only be absorbed in. You only have klita. You can only be absorbed in Eretz Yisrael if you have hachna'ah. If you have hachna'ah, you got to let go of this, of what the Zohar says, man di'ihurav, like I'm a great person. And to have achna'ah, you mean like, I understand that I'm not so great. Now, to hold those two things at the same time is a tricky business. So in the generation that left Mitzrayim, they had to be split into the generation that left Mitzrayim, Sur Merah, and their generation going to come into Eretz Yisrael, because to do the Aseh Tov, all of the fostering and making the Yetzer HaTov grow, this is something that you need hachna'ah for. I'm not so great. So the question is, who are we? We are both. Depending on the moment. Depending on the moment. Split personality. That's the Jew, to hold both things at the same time.
The whole world is yin yang. This is what everything is based.
That's right. So as tzarich liyehudi להתאזר בגאווה. So when we have everything to lose, and we have to do a sur merah, then we have to have gaiva of kedusha. We have to have gaiva kedusha. You don't mess with me. I'm a Jew. But until the Yetzer Hara gets like subdued. Okay, so this is gava of kedusha. That's the door of Yotzei Mitzrayim. That their main avoda was sur merah. And so they needed to be counted by their names because they needed that extra boost of building themselves up. To be saved from the bad, everyone had to hold themselves high. But the Ba'ei Ha'aretz, that their job was Aseh Tov, and the Maggid of Mezrich said, "Shaderech b'avodat Hashem l'tchil mishaflut." And the way, so once you've done the Sur Merah, and now you want to build levels of Kedusha beyond the Sur Merah, now you want to say Tov, you have to start from a place of shiftless. And then he says like this, Kemin ha'aretz lo noflim, because when you're on the ground, there's nowhere more to fall from when you're already on the ground. וזה שאומרת התורה הקדושה בשני המניינים, שאו את ראש, and in both senses, in the beginning of the book and at the end of the book, both the lashon of שאו את rosh kol adam, raise the heads. Why raise the heads? Like count them. What is raise? Why are you speaking about counting the Jews as raising the heads?
Some are from that place of Shiflut, is it?
כל הדת בני ישראל, דהיינו, לשאת את ראש כל הדת בני ישראל, לרומם ראשם ולגבם. You have to, when you talk to a Jew, and they need to do their avoda, as a Jew, you have to raise their heads. בדור המדבר, הדרך הייתה על ידי מספר שמות. The way to raise the heads of the Dor Midbar was to call each one by name, and they have to understand that they are great. מכוח שידעו כי איננו גדול בבית הזה ממני. Like Yosef Atzadik, he says, when Mrs. Potiphar came after him, he says, she's trying to say, okay, it's not like you're perfect, so what's another sin going to mean to you? And he says, and he answers, ki eineni gadol b'vayit hazeh mimeni. There's no one greater than me, more important than me, and in this house, Potiphar entrusted everything to me, and you want me, the great me, to go into such a lowly place? No way. This is what saved him, understanding his greatness. But the raising of the heads of the generation coming into Eretz Yisrael was done not through counting them by name, because they needed hachna. You raise them by giving them shiflas. Lev nishbar v'nitkeh, Elokim lo mo'es. And that's how they get to the madrega of being worthy of the land of Israel. So Bezrat Hashem, we should know when to raise our heads in godless. Somebody comes with an improper suggestion, a taiva, or whatever, on a national scale, on the personal scale, say,
Lo matim li.
Lo matim li. Ma pitom. Ma pitom. Do you know who I am? I have an neshama kedusha with me. And then on the other hand, when I want to do good and increase my masim tovim, I have to say, what's mine? Well, nothing is mine. Of course I'm going to give tzedakah. Of course I'm going to go out of my way to do a favor. Of course, because it's not about me. I'm nothing in relation to everything I have is just from Hashem. Hefker like a midbar. Let Hashem we'll get there and we'll be able to receive Torah. בקדושה ובטהרה ובשפלות ובגאווה. All of it. Okay. Amy, are you still there? Because she sent me a message on the chat. My iPad got too hot, got thrown off. Oy vey. What does that mean? It means the mime of the chesed. Okay.
It's lifted.
All the best.
Coming back.